course, we are ready for Lesson 11. It's on page 38. A review of the indicative active. Present and imperfect. The stem of the present and imperfect is the same and is learned in the first person singular of the present indicative active. That's the principal part it's based on. Its final vowel is a before im or n, elsewhere it is eh. Don't worry about that final vowel business. Take a look. So again, you notice I have two bookmarks, two post-it notes in my copy. I recommend you do the same. One of them is on page 263. And that's your summary of paradigms for the verbs. And so you can see the indicative, active voice indicative is section 699. So you can kind of refer to this as he's going to be running through this summary of the active voice indicative. And then I keep my other bookmark at page 325. And on page 325, you'll find the dictionary entry there at the bottom of the first column for luo. Just to remember how you form the 6 principal parts. So the first principal part is the present indicative active, luo. It's called the dictionary form. It's what you look up in the dictionary if you want to know what a verb means. Then the second principal part is the future. How do you form it? Sigma plus the present endings. Third principal part is the aorist, or a regular aorist, a weak aorist. How do you form it? Epsilon, plus the present stem, plus sigma, plus the aorist endings. Fourth principal part is the perfect indicative active first person singular. How do you form it? Reduplication, present stem, kappa, perfect endings. And then the fifth and sixth principal parts, we have not learned yet, but it's the perfect middle passive, and then the aorist passive. So, when we get to that, we'll get to that. So for now, you know how to form the first 4 principal parts. So again, you may want to have handy page 263 as he runs through a summary of the active voice here. Well, I'm back on page 38, section 134. Future. The stem of the future active and middle is formed by adding. Again, I want you to think about it not as this so or se. Just think about it as adding sigma plus the present indicative active endings. Aorist. The stem of the first aorist active and middle is formed by adding. Again, I want you to think of it as adding not saw, but think of it as adding sigma plus the aorist endings. There are several different ways to learn the Greek verbal system, and you can kind of learn it the way he's advocating here, but I find it much simpler to simply think about it more in parts or pieces. I find that students learn that much more easily. 136. The stem of the second aorist is formed by adding, again, ignore all that. The second aorist, strong aorist, it has an epsilon on the front, or it has a long vowel on the front, and then it's simply taking the imperfect endings. And you have to memorize which verbs have second aorist or strong aorist. You have to memorize that as part of learning it as a vocabulary word. 137. The perfect tense. Vowel stems, many liquid stems, and some linguals add the tense suffix. Again, I want you to think the normal way to form a perfect, reduplication, plus the present stem, plus kappa, plus these perfect endings. Lingual stems, especially those in zo, they drop the tau, the delta, the theta before the kappa, and so thaumadzo becomes thaumad, or thaumad is the stem he's saying. That's going to become tethaumaka. So what do you need to remember there? Well, it's simply reduplication, because remember that theta reduplicates with tau, and your kappa ending, all you need to remember is that kappa swallows up zeta tau, delta, or theta. So if you need to make that a flashcard, go ahead and do that. The kappa absorbs those letters. Many verbs add alpha to the reduplicated verb stem to form the perfect. Most stems in pi, beta, kappa, or gamma change to the cognate rough mute if a short vowel precedes. Those in phi or he remain unchanged. Here's what you need to do. So take a look at his examples there. So ago has the perfect echa. So what does that mean? It means that gamma plus kappa is going to give you that he. Gegrapha, the phi just eats up the kappa. Dioko goes to dediocha, so kappa plus kappa there equals he, etc. What's going to, realistically, it would be very insane to try to memorize all these rules for how the letters combine. These kind of words you're simply going to learn as irregular principal parts. Just like in English, there's a whole set of rules you could learn if you knew Old English for why it becomes eat, ate, eaten. Why is that irregular? Why isn't that like learn, learned, have learned? Why is it eat, ate, have eaten? Well, you can learn a whole system of rules for why those kind of verbs change the way they do, or you can just learn it as an irregular verb, and that's actually much easier. So when we get to the vocabulary list, we'll talk more about that. Section 139, pluperfect. The pluperfect, again, how is the pluperfect formed? Look on page 699. The pluperfect is formed epsilon plus reduplication plus the stem plus kappa plus the pluperfect endings. That's how you should remember it. Okay, page 40. The vowel ah of the second perfect becomes, again, we're not going to learn all those kind of rules, just learn the endings and learn how the tenses are put together and you will do well. All right, vocabulary. He kephale. He kephale means head. Ha strategos. Ha strategos is a general. Polemios. Polemios is an adjective, it means hostile. Polemoi is an adjective, it means many. Poloi. Poloi, I was looking at the previous word. Poloi means many, and then again, these are adjectives, and so they have endings also for the feminine and neuter genders. Here's a verb. Athroidzo. Regular future now, athroiso. Regular aorist, athroisa. And regular perfect, athroika. So then he has a footnote there. In the following vocabularies, verbs whose principal parts are regular or may easily be supplied will be given thus: coluo, coluso, etc. So again, you need to memorize how you make the principal parts. You make the future tense, add a sigma to the stem plus the future endings. You make the aorist tense by an epsilon, then the stem, then a sigma, then the aorist endings. You make the perfect, reduplication, stem, kappa, perfect endings. You make the pluperfect, epsilon, reduplication, stem, kappa, pluperfect endings. That's how you need to memorize them. So, next word, didasco. Didasco means I teach. And again, after that, it's regular. Didaxo, didaxa, dedidacha. Right. Klepto. And again, now if you're having a problem getting the hang of how the kappa combines to make didacha, if that's not sticking with you, then you just need to learn the principal parts of didasco by memory. So your vocabulary card for didasco, on one side will have didasco, and on the back we'll have I teach, and then we'll list all the principal parts. So that when you are studying your vocabulary, you say didasco, okay, that's I teach, and its principal parts are didasco, didaxo, edidaxa, edidacha. Same thing with klepto, I steal. If you're having a problem with remembering how the sigma attaches to p tau to make psi, klepso, if you're forgetting that a sigma eats up a tau and then combines with the p to make psi, then just learn these as irregular principal parts. Learn them as vocabulary. Peitho, again, peiso, epesa, pepeka, I persuade. Again, those are regular if you memorize some of the rules about how consonants combine. If you do not wish to memorize the rules about how consonants combine, then you need to learn them as irregular principal parts. Same with crypto, I throw or cast. Hrypso, a hrypsa, a hrypha. And meta. Now this is a preposition that takes two different cases. So meta, with the genitive, it means with. And so what's a good word? Well, here we go. Kephale. So if it's meta tes kephales, so meta followed by the genitive, it means with the head. Meta tes kephales. But if it's followed by the accusative, meta tain kephalein, then that means after the head. So you have to include that in your vocabulary card. Meta plus the genitive means with. Meta plus the accusative means after. And then Allah is a conjunction. It means but, still, or yet. All right. We'll make a new video for the translations here. But that's just a good solid review of what we've learned so far of the tenses, the Greek verb, and then some vocabulary. So come back to the next video, or you can work on your translations and come back to the next video to correct them.